Archibald Gracie attends to both body and soul on Sunday morning aboard Titanic.
When Sunday morning came, I considered it high time to begin my customary exercises, and determined for the rest of the voyage to patronize the squash racket court, the gymnasium, the swimming pool, etc. I was up early before breakfast and met the professional racket player in a half-hour's warming up, preparatory for a swim in the 6-foot deep tank of salt water heated to a refreshing temperature. In no swimming bath had I ever enjoyed such pleasure before. The exercise and the swim gave me an appetite for a hearty breakfast, then followed the church service in the dining saloon, and I remember how much I was impressed with the prayer for those at sea, also the words of the hymn which we sang, number 418 of the hymnal. First-class passenger, Archibald Gracie.
Loch. They practiced making turns with this huge new ship. Lightoller was notably impressed with the mechanics of the powerful Titanic.
After running our trials, we finally took over from the builders and proceeded round to Southampton. It was clear to everybody on board that we had a ship that was going to create the greatest stir British shipping circles had ever known. For one thing, she was the first ship to be fitted with a third screw, driven by a low-powered turbine. For manoeuvring, the 2 wing screws alone were used, but once clear of the land, steam from low-pressure cylinders was turned into this turbine, and undoubtedly it gave her a wonderful turn of speed. Second Officer Charles Lightoller.
Ship and serve her passengers. Titanic is unlike anything. Violet Jessup, a stewardess already familiar with the Olympic, was thrilled that designer Thomas Andrews asked some stewards how he could make Titanic even more comfortable than Olympic.
It was quite unusual for members of the catering department to be consulted about changes that would benefit their comforts or ease their toil. So when the designer, Thomas Andrews, paid us this thoughtful compliment, we realised it was a great privilege. Our esteem for him, already high, knew no bounds. Stewardess Violet Jessup.
Even Titanic's experienced officers were amazed by her size.
It is difficult to convey any idea of the size of a ship like the Titanic, when you could actually walk miles along decks and passages, covering different ground all the time. I was thoroughly familiar with pretty well every type of ship afloat, from a battleship and a barge, but it took me 14 days before I could with confidence find my way from one part of that ship to another by the shortest route. A sailor does not walk around with a plan in his pocket. He must carry the ship in his head, and in an emergency such as fire must be able to get where he wants by sheer instinct, certainly without a chance of getting lost on the way. Second Officer Charles Lightoller.
Boards Titanic on Sunday. The highest-paid captain on the sea was also highly modest.
When anyone asks me how I can best describe my experience in nearly 40 years at sea, I merely say uneventful. Well, of course, there have been winter gales and storms and fog and the like, but in all my experience I've never been in any accident, or any sort worth speaking about. I've seen but one vessel in distress in all my years at sea. I never saw a wreck and never have been wrecked, nor was I ever in any predicament that threatened to end in disaster of any sort. You see, I'm not very good material for a story. Captain Edward J. Smith.
Captain Smith was a favorite among his officers.
Captain Smith, or EJ as he was familiarly and affectionately known, was quite a character in the shipping world. Tall, full-whiskered and broad. At first sight you would think to yourself, here's a typical Western Ocean captain, bluff, hearty, and I'll bet he's got a voice like a foghorn. As a matter of fact, he had a pleasant, quiet voice and an invariable smile. He was a great favourite and a man any officer would give his ears to sail under. Second Officer Charles Lightoller.